Good morning. So my name is Vijay Jethani. I'm Cloud Solution Architect at Microsoft. So for today's session, which is on SQL databases with DevOps, the agenda is as follows. So we'll be covering why DevOps, first of all, for any of the SQL workloads, or I can say any of the databases. Okay. Then how DevOps can help us with implementation as well as the operational processes. Then we will deep dive into knowing the SQL workloads, what kind of the SQL workloads we have for the databases for us to implement. Okay, and what are the native tools? Obviously, being the database admin or working on the database, we have n number of tools. So we should know those tools for us to actually apply the DevOps on them. Okay, and then finally we will do the demo where I will walk through what the process is all about creating that workflow, and then how you relate that to your database related code, you can say, or the database related artifacts, you can say, how we can bring them in a code format. So that is what we will see in the demo. Now moving ahead from this session, I think you should be able to apply the DevOps methodology yourself, and then you, from the SQL per se, you will know what kind of workloads you have on Azure, and then obviously from the workflow perspective, how we create that workflow from scratch is what you will see, and finally the how it is helping us as a database developer or database admins on these deployments. The session will be available to you on the YouTube channel. Previous sessions are available. This session will be posted after 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so that's all about the agenda. Now let's move to the why we need DevOps at first place. So with this, DevOps for database, right? So think about the traditional way of how we work on databases. So each database obviously will have some life cycle. So you do the updates, you work on migrations. Whenever the new releases are there, we have to do that work quite often, repetitively at respective schedule maintenances, or even if something goes off with that databases. So that is the first thing which we see. How do we manage the database life cycle in our traditional native way of doing that? Okay. Now, most of the time, the DBAs have to do the repetitive work. That means exactly the same procedures, exactly the same content, exactly the same SQL script. They have to apply that, and they have to be there for that particular job to get complete. Okay. Then third thing I can say is I cannot ask someone who has very little knowledge on the DBA management tools to execute any particular task. So that is the biggest challenge. That is the reason I have to have a DBA who have to sit along with me on that particular task or implementation, and then only we will be able to complete that particular task. Fourth thing is on release process. Obviously we are working in a different teams, so getting that infrastructure ready for me and getting that things vetted, reviewed by respective approvers, and then I get go ahead on that particular day I have to do this particular change, and that is how we do. So that takes us couple of weeks to go through a collaboration process, know what we are doing, and then even if we are doing the repetitive work as well, it has to go through appropriate reviews. Final thing is your business continuity and DR. So when this DR happens, or when even something goes wrong, first thing we have to look at what is the easiest fix to apply to that. So these are the some traditional challenges I would say in our, if we worked in the database deployments or operational world. Okay, so this is what we want to look at in how DevOps help you in those deployments on databases. Now first of all, with DevOps, everything is an API driven. That means what we are trying to provide you is n number of tools from a cloud provider. Second thing is, if we are providing you tools, obviously you have way to bring all system management, database management tools, everything at your desk to implement that in a automated way. Okay, so workflows are automated using triggers. So hence DBAs are not required for repetitive work. That means now I'm sure if I put some workflow in place that is persistent in my system, and now I don't need a DBA to do a repetitive work. Now it's only that particular workflow. When that is scheduled to run, it will go through that process, and after appropriate checks, it will get implemented. Okay. And other thing is, on while you work on the traditional machines, most of the times there can be, we did a lot of software implementations and we overrided some of the versions. So at times we have the conflict in our machines. That means that machines are not clear of those particular software conflicts. Okay, so that is where we say if we use cloud, then in that machines you every time get a new machine which is clean for the deployment, and then you can execute whatever your code, or you can bring your code and execute whatever specific deployments you want to have. Okay, so this is how we are trying to make a life easy with DevOps. Also, as I said, for database life cycles, you do updates, you apply security patches, you do the auditing, and number of things you do from the migration or moving to the new version of the database. So most of the time, apart from changing the software, the process remains same. So you can clone your workflow. That means whatever you have a persistent workflow in your DevOps, you can clone that and create a separate release versions for major or minor. Similarly, if you are doing any kind of integration testing, you can do that integration testing with that. Okay, and now also for approvals, what we give to you is you can check your previous task. If that task gets completed, like say if my prerequisites are ready, then obviously I can go for the deployment. So that is what you can have the automation in place, then waiting for appropriate approvals in place. You still can apply approvals, but with this process you can expedite your deployment work. Okay, similarly, now most important thing is whatever you have been keeping on your own machine, on shared drives or your respective servers, now that is available for your team or your project admins to review that, have a conversation on what this script should look like. Now this is stored as a code, so we have an appropriate review process, appropriate versioning on that particular script which we are about to run. So there is no rework, and then we are only concentrating on the SQL scripts or stored procedures which we want to implement on the databases. Okay, so this is how a DevOps can help you with database related task. Now let's get deeper into what this is all about. Now, as we are going through SQL workloads, these are the 4 workloads I can say. SQLDB, obviously proprietary of Microsoft, then MySQL, MariaDB, and Postgre are from an open source community. So these are the databases which you will work on depending upon the projects or that customer requirement is all about. Okay, now that's okay, you know the SQL structure. So first of all, for what this SQL database is being used for. So in ideal use cases, these are used for most of the time transactional nature. That means you use for the transaction workloads. It can be your payment systems. It can be where you need the atom, which is an atomicity. Okay, so similarly the consistency, isolation, and the overall durability. Okay, so for these all things these are nothing but the database schema definition, or I would say design principles on which this is based on. Okay, so this is how you can think of while you apply the SQL concepts over each of these databases. Okay, we know this, but then how do we implement them? What are the ways we can implement them? So today, from the traditional scenarios, we have seen that we have a SQL servers placed on the physical servers. That is the one use case we have seen across. Then there is a similar use case, but this is hosted on cloud. That means I have infrastructure as a service where I bring in or configure the machines exactly same as what I was using before on the physical. So now this is a VM rather than being hosted on the physical machine. Now the third option to is using the PaaS, that is a platform as a service, where all the relevant stuff related to provisioning or having the backend infrastructure is taken care by the cloud provider. I just have to have my database ported here along with what kind of the environment I want to create from. Okay, so these are the models you can think of from where you will actually implement the databases. Okay, so again, so most of these models can also be used for a NoSQL as well, but here today in today's class we are working them from the transactional workload perspective. Like the example I can give you is from MySQL as well as from the Postgre. They can also be used for special, that means indices or the way we work on the CAD CAM design scenarios. Okay, that it can also work. Similarly, there are other versions of column stores. Okay, so you can work with them. But today we will talk from the transactional nature perspective of how these are structured. Okay, so now coming to the what are the other variants of if I want to go for a SQL database on Azure. Okay, so first thing is obviously you can implement them on the Azure virtual machines, and other thing is obviously you can have the managed instance. This is a platform, but then giving you an options of porting every database whatever you're running on your physical machines or virtual machines on a specific hosting provider to this particular cloud. Okay, and in Azure SQL database you can again choose from the single database or elastic database or pool perspective, where you are able to share the DTUs, that is data transaction units, across these particular databases. So this is how the whole different SQL DBs will look like. So irrespective of what the DB you are working on, the concept of database remains same. The backend is SQL, that is the structured query language. Okay, how you implement that based on the complexity and what kind of control you want to have on top of that. That means whether you want complete control of machine, then go with the Azure VM. However, if you want a control of machine to extend plus some of the automated backups, and then you go for the managed instance. Similarly, if you want to go for the, you don't want to manage any of the infrastructure layer or any of the, you just want to manage your database, then go for the platform as a service. So that is how you choose from, right? And similarly, like talking about these particular Postgres, MySQL and MariaDB, they are a community database. That means they are an open source. That okay, so the changes coming to them will be your own baby, like from the database per se, unless and until there is a community fix available to you or something, it is an open source, so you have to work with community to resolve any issues. However, we as Microsoft provide you the way to port them directly on platform as a service, where backend infra and everything we will take care of. What you do is you bring your database and work on the respective tooling which you have been working on. Okay, so coming to the Postgre, it's again relational database from the community. MySQL again community, Maria is again. So the difference is ideally, as I said, all four of them will do the same job for you. The difference is based upon how your application is interacting with them, because heart of anything is your front end layers. It can be your web front end, it can be your desktop applications, it can be any of your mobile applications if they are storing anything in the databases. So it purely depends upon what kind of variations you have in your application, or I would say enterprise ecosystem for your apps. Okay, that is how you will look into these particular databases and accordingly work with them. Now, this is all about knowing the SQL workloads. What are the tools we have to work on? Okay, that is also quite important. So let's slowly go about the tools you will need. So first thing is, if you are a developer and want to have the database related tooling with you, then I would suggest Visual Studio Community Edition will be best for you, along with the data platform tools installed. So if you see the Visual Studio 2009, I think 22 also is available, but that is in preview. If you want to use for the production, then 2019 is what you can use today. Okay, and what for you to work on the database related projects, you will require data storage and processing, where you will see SQL Server data tools, which will also install SQL package and other tools, whatever you're using along with that. Okay, so there are other tools if you are working on any of the data science and analytics also you can install. So it purely depends upon whether you are a pure DBA or you are working developer along with DBA. Okay, so that is how you will choose your path from. Now coming to the other tool, which is SQL Server Management Studio. Now this tool is mainly on the management of your Azure SQL databases or servers. Okay, so this is the version. So these particular links I will share with you at the end of the session, so that you can download and install them. So for each of them I have the links available for you, so you can download these tools while you work on these from the lab perspective. Now as you see, this again, most of you might know who are working on this Azure SQL database. The client tool is also available, which does n number of tasks. The simplest task I can say is, how do I know what the changes are coming to that particular the database, like from the schema perspective, or from any particular design changes or the data changes. So with SQL package I can get a report. Okay, so that is the first thing. Second thing is on the, what if I want to create a SQL script out of it from the database, or I would create a DACPAC file or backpack file. So all these tasks can also be executed equally from the command line. So SQL package can help you with that. So depending upon what kind of the platform you are using, you can execute or download them accordingly and use for your Azure SQL database. As I said, this particular everything, the way the design is, either you go directly with the UI tool and do a number of things, or you can also use a SQL package if you want from the command line perspective. So that is a difference. This is more of a command line, and this is a UI tool for you to execute on Azure SQL databases. Now what else? There's also the cross-platform data analytics tool, which can give you the landscape. Sorry. So Azure Data Studio, I think whoever might have worked, so it works across, let it be SQL or NoSQL. You can actually go and download that and can kind of explorer, and as well as the analytics tool you can use it for. Okay, so this is again the link I will share with you for from the data Azure Data Studio perspective. Now if you see, we have mix of the developer tools. That means this is more of a development having integration with the database. Similarly, this is purely a developer tool from UI perspective. This is again a developer tool from this command line perspective. This is again the data tool on the cloud. Okay, which allows us the cross-platform data exploring and the analytics on top of that. Okay. So this is a proprietary from the Visual Studio perspective. This is proprietary of Microsoft. However, Visual Studio Code is a free community. The way you have community editions, this is a community edition, and it will also have a similar extensions and the packaging allowed for you to work on respective languages, Python or any particular data science related languages you want to work on along with the database, you can use Visual Studio Code. Okay. Now the heart of few things is like if you are a developer or a scripter, you can also use Azure tools or Azure PowerShell, CLI, any of the tools. So I've also kept the link of the tools what you can download directly from the cloud or Azure per se. So Azure CLI, obviously, whoever is working on the Bash, they know in and out about these particular tools. However, if you are good on PowerShell, you can go and download the PowerShell. So ideally, what I'm trying to provide you here is the DevOps can bring all of these tooling without even actually installing them on your machines, or while I do the projects from the production per se, I would keep them clean and download them only at runtime. So what I mean by that is, while I'm developing that, I would have these n number of tools available. But after that, once I know this works fine for me as a developer, as a DBA, I would bring in the DevOps, and then let's the DevOps process or workflow download these tools as and when required. It will build the code for me. It will compile that package and create an artifacts for me. Then I can actually provision all my environments right from a development, test and production, right from scratch with this workflow, and then do the update depending upon what I want to do with, whether it is just a single change, a schema change, data change. So there can be n number of change. The way I have shown you, like you can create a backpack file that is a schema with the data. Similarly, if you use the backpack, it's more of a schema. Similarly, there can be n number of options if I want to create a stored procedures, if I want to create a SQL scripts out of that. So there can be n number of ways a developer or the DBA will be working on this tooling. But how do I collaborate in a simplest way where I can bring the power of these tools at the disposal when I require? So that is what the DevOps is helping us with these toolings. So reason for providing this tooling is that you know that what is being used for and how are we going to bring them in the cloud with the DevOps. Now, if you are working on MySQL or MariaDB as a database, I think you know the MySQL Workbench is a tool which you can use for that. Similarly, you can install these particular tools with these respective links. Okay, so there is an installer for respective depending upon the operating system you choose from. Okay, and for Postgre as well, there is a PG admin tool which you can actually go and download depending upon which version you have been working on. So ideally, I would say if you are working or playing in the development environment, then go with the preview versions as well, so that you know what's coming next. However, in most of the cases, you have to go with the GA versions for the productions. So make sure you read the documentation and release notes before you actually deploy those tools for the production. Okay, so I will just walk you, or I will just pause here before we start the demo. So just walking you back with the tools, Visual Studio Community Edition. Then you have SSDT as an installer within that Visual Studio while you install that Visual Studio. SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, UI for your Azure SQL database or database servers. SQL package is a CLI. Again, this is the Data Explorer as well as analytics tools which you can use cross platform. Visual Studio Code is again for the developer along with the DBA or DBA IDMG database developer as well. PowerShell and other Azure tools which you should know for. There can be also a simplest AZ copy as well in some cases if you want that. Okay, so whatever I'm providing you the tools, these are just as per my knowledge. I think you can, even if you are using any other tools as a proprietary for from enterprise per se, I think you can continue using them. So MySQL for MySQL as well as the MariaDB as a database servers, and last is the PG admin, which is for your Postgre administration. Okay, so you will also find the pSQL as a command line, which you can use for dump and backups for that. Okay, so now with this information, I think we have good knowledge about what we are doing from a database perspective on the SQL. Now let's move to the demo for that. Okay, so for demo, I have a project created. Okay, so this is the project I have. So with this project, I think I have a repository at first place, which has my database as a code. Okay, so these particular database as a projects I have listed here, from which I'm going to build from. There's a solution which I'm going to build from and create a DACPAC file for that. Okay, similarly, there is a PowerShell for SQL package with which I'm actually trying to execute them on the DevOps, or I would say the machine, which I will get from DevOps as a installing. Okay, so from this I will actually going to deploy those particular packages on top of that. Okay, so this is few things I have from the deployments as a database per se. Now what do I have from service provisioning per se? From service provisioning per se, I have the ARM templates. That means I have the templates which is going to do the deployment of Key Vault. Okay, so this is the ARM template I have, which is going to deployment for the ARM on Azure. It is going to create a Key Vault. I have some parameters. How do I do that? Okay, and these parameters I will be taking from the parameter file, which is provided in terms of, so let me show you the parameter files. So this is the parameter file which is giving the specific naming convention which I'm trying to deploy, the location where I'm trying to deploy. Okay, similarly the object ID, obviously as we are working in an automated world, I need service principal rather than using my ID, so that nothing is dependent on me for those deployments. Okay, also I'm mentioning the specific permissions of how do I want to look at from the how do I store keys, how do I secret, what kind of the permissions it should have. Okay, and obviously it is on my tenant, so I have provided my tenant ID, whether I want to enable for deployment. This is at the advanced access policies. So while I deploy, I will show you where to see the advanced access policies for the Key Vault. So why we are talking about Key Vault first of all, because we deal with n number of secrets. First is our admin passwords, then we also deal with the SQL Server root passwords. We will also deal with the certificates. So that is the reason we have a need to create a Key Vault for secured first our password vaults, kind of a password vault. So this is storing of our passwords and a number of things. What about our services? So for services, similar to this, I have a template for what kind of services I need to create on Azure. Okay, so with this, first of all, I'm setting the auto admin account to 2. That means respective passwords or accounts will be created automatically for me, and then I will be getting those values. You can also fix them by saying false to that. Okay, so these all strings I am keeping it how I will be creating those particular services. Okay, similarly for firewall values and everything, I would take from the parameters file. Here I'm just defining them what kind of the parameters I need. Okay, the actual heart of this is how do I actually do this particular within the, so like if you see the database auditing actions. Okay, so these are some of the I'm doing on top of the database or SQL Server. Okay, so what else I need? I need a storage account, and what kind of the storage account it will be, and there will be obviously a number of things required, how this password is actually created. And if I want to automate, I also think from how do I actually generate them at a runtime, right? So that no one knows that, and the person who is actually executing that can or who has designed this, he only knows that from a security perspective. So everything, whatever I'm doing, I know how this will be created. That is the reason while I do the actual deployment, you will see I would just fetch those things at the runtime from those particular, or I would see them from while it getting executed. Okay, so I can also apply Azure SQL Analytics on top of that. And then finally, I am just mentioning the resources I am creating from this particular ARM template. Storage account, then obviously the insights. Okay, so that is an operation management. Then I am creating obviously a SQL server, and then firewall rules, and then finally it will be the database and the other things. So top of this, what I'm trying to say here is this particular template is serving as a code for any of the services you are creating, irrespective of whether it is in just a service or whether it is a database or any particular application we are using. So these all configurations are going as a code. I need not change them, and even if I don't have a DBA at my hand who can do this for me, I am able to run this with a person who is just a fresher or starter on that particular technology. Like if he has to just update and we already have the process in place, then obviously he can run these workflows without anyone's help, and there's no need of any tooling. Okay, so while I deploy this, you will see I don't need any installation, and I'm doing this installation from hosted runner which is deployed on Azure. So I don't have anything installed at first place. Everything is done at a runtime with the DevOps workflow. Okay, so everything, how do I manage the configurations? Everything is documented as a code, and this is placed in my repository. So that is where I've shown you this repository. That means database, I'm having all details about what goes in. Deployments, I have everything what goes in. Now let's look at the workflows which will actually implement these particular things. Now pipelines is a workflow terminology in DevOps with which you create these workflows. Now first thing for us is to know how the service is getting created, right? So for service getting created, let's look at this particular pipeline. So the way I have shown you from the workflow perspective or template perspective, now I am actually bringing that code or those particular EXEs with the help of workflows. Okay, so if you see that ARM templates which I have shown you, I'm setting up the Key Vault here. It goes with that particular resource group, and this is a connection. As I said, as I'm working on the workflows, I need an automation account. So this is kind of an automation account for me, which I've already created, which has an access of creating the services on Azure. This is my subscription, and if that resource group exists, it checks for that. That means if it is false, it goes and create the resource group for me, and it gives that a name of Vijay SQL custom deploy to that in location East US. And the exact same templates parameter file which I've shown you, I'm just browsing it through help of this particular browser, which is fetching these from the repos. Okay, so this is how I'm bringing this here. Similar is the parameter file. If you want to override any of the parameters, you have option to do it here. And as you are doing with the ARM template, that means I can do it an incremental way. I don't know what changes is going in. So whether I should recreate all the services or only the small change, so incremental mode will take care of that. That means if something is just changing for that particular instance or that particular configuration, then only that will be updated. The complete environment will not be overwritten or not be anything will not be deleted as such. Okay, so it is a kind of incremental change. However, if you are removing something, then obviously it will be deleted from that as an incremental change. So this is how the Key Vault will be set up. Similar is for my Azure SQL Server database will be set up whatever I've shown you in the ARM template. So you can exactly the same thing. So here only thing is I am changing the templates for SQL implementations. One gives me the parameters, another gives me the template of what I have to deploy, and admin password, which is I'm overwriting with the db pass. So Again, deploy mode incremental, because I want to make sure that even if we run it, there is no harm to that. If there is no change, nothing will be overwritten as such. Okay, and just giving the deployment name to that. Now this is what happening at the runtime. How do I know what kind of the parameters or what kind of the backend it is, or the how the SQL admin will be set up, how the SQL, if you have seen, I have shown you that I'm setting this automatically with the help of those parameters and the variables. So because of that, I'm having this ARM output, which will be provided from this variable, which if you see, this is exactly the same thing which I'm trying to bring here. Okay, in this particular output. So this is what I'm trying to bring here as a string or array, and then trying to fetch a required respective passwords or secrets which I can store in the key vault, which I'm doing with the CLI. So this is how the SQL admin login and password I'm storing in the using in the key vault with the help of the CLI. So if you see here, I'm using PowerShell. I can use PowerShell here as well, but for how I'm using the tooling, or just to show you the variation of tooling you can use, I'm just showing you the different way of doing that. Okay, so now let's look at this everything in the practical, how that works step by step. Now let me deploy this from the as a service perspective. Okay, the other thing which I want to show you here is SQL DAC pack creation. If you remember, I have shown you the projects which will actually build that particular DAC pack file for me. This is what it is. It is a solution file, and this will publish a DAC pack file as an artifact for me. Okay, and finally in the release, while you do some kind of updates from this particular, then in that case I have the pipeline, which is again the release pipeline, which will do the DAC pack deployment. So with the help of that SQL package, I've shown you that you can actually create report before implementing that what will change is this script. That means I'm getting the SQL script of for me to have the that as a stored as a SQL script for me. The final step for me is actually doing that deployment on that server. So these all things I'm doing as a part of this particular workflow. Okay, so the flow is, let me create the service first with the help of this pipeline, and then coming back to this pipeline, I will have the artifact created with help of SQL DAC pack creation that gives me a DAC pack file. Then final thing is to update that or release that on that product or that particular server or database with the help of this particular workflow. So ideally this is one time task for me to do that. Once that is done, I think I have my way or artifacts to deploy that. Then it will be just a pointer to what kind of updates I want to apply on these databases. So let's see that in working. So first of all, let me create this from the service perspective. Okay, so it is now fetching the agent on the DevOps server. Okay, so now it is downloading whatever the different task I'm using and also getting that up and running on that particular hosted runner or the cloud machine. Now if you see it gone and check about whether that resource group exists or not, and it gone and created that for me. So this is how this particular installation will go through. Similarly, I can show you here are the resource groups. So at times I think it is taking some time to reflect here. Should be here in the meanwhile. Okay, here it is. Okay, so as of now it has created a resource group. Currently it is going for creation of the key vault as per that ARM template I have provided. Now one thing I have to do here is before it, when that key vault comes in, I have to provide myself access to this because it won't have, I will not be having access because I'm creating it programmatically. So let me select my principal ID to check when that secrets are created. Okay. Also provide them some permissions. So as of now, I'm just going with the default all because I'm the admin on that. Okay. So I'm just adding that to an authorized list. Similarly, if there's any other service principal you want to select, say suppose again I have a SQL principal which is doing the deployments. So I will select that as a principal and then give the appropriate access which I have shown you in the templates. Okay, so this kind of application related service principal and then user you can add from that. Okay, so these are the which will have the access on your Key Vault. So with this update, let us see what it is doing now on the Azure SQL setup. So now let me refresh back and go to that resource group and see what it is trying to create now. It created log analytic workspace for me. It created the storage account. It is still in the process of creating the SQL server as well as the database for me. So let me go back. So this can take time because it has to create the server and then have the database. So we have to be patient because this is also one more thing, as this is just showing the deployment name, we can also drill down in the ARM way of deploying to see the exact task being done by that particular ARM template. Okay, so this is where we are in the ARM view. So we are now having applying the DB audits and creating the database after that. So here you will only see the deployment is going on, but if you have applied through ARM or API layer, you can also go in that particular resource group. Okay, so I'm in the resource group and you go on the deployments, and within the deployment you can see that this is getting deployed. Okay, you can keep on refreshing. Ideally this will refresh automatically, but if you still want to refresh it, you can go and see what exactly the changes are going through. Now it is in the process of creating the database for us. Okay, now this is complete. That means our SQL Server setup is complete and it is now fetching the output of ARM. That because I've told you that I'm generating the passwords at the runtime, so that only I know or whoever is running that know about that for that sense, and then we are going to store those as a key secrets in my Key Vault. Okay, so let me show you those things in a, like this is how it will look like. The admin is this, similarly is my password. Now these values will be stored as a keys in the key vault, so which is this particular task which is now getting executed. So ideally you don't have to give any passwords as such. A person who's running these tasks can know that at runtime, and then those particular variables, from those what particular variables or parameters, it will fetch that and have them in a secure manner in a key vault. Okay, so this is the, as of now it's going for my consumption, and if you see my SQL admin, going back to that task again, SQL admin login is stored as a secret, another one is on SQL admin pass. So I can go back to my deployment task, which was this. Go to the key vault, go to the secrets. Now if I have not given myself permission, I would not be able to see this. Only the service principal, which is again the automation, will only able to see that. Okay, so this is the reason I've given myself permission on any other for this to view that particular passwords or secrets for that. Okay, so this is what I have as of now for the deployment. Now let's see how it moves towards the actual creation of the DACPAC file, right? So how the DACPAC file is actually getting created. So with that, let me show you the DACPAC file creation. This is again the workflow which I have shown you. It is nothing but the creation or building that solution with the help of Visual Studio and publishing that. Okay, so let me show you that. So I'm just running that pipeline, and this pipeline is integrated to my release as well. That means if someone is sure that this is going to create an artifact at so and so time, the deployment of that should happen automatically on the server using the release task which I've shown you. Okay, so let me build this first. So again, here there are a couple of ways. I think depending upon the database you are using, you can use dump. Similarly, if you are using pSQL, you can use pSQL for Postgre and the relevant stuff. This we are seeing for the Azure SQL database. Okay, so there can be command line, there can be UI, a number of things you can use for creating those DAC file, backpack files, whichever way you feel the best for you or the enterprise customer you're working on approved, whatever they have approved. I think you can bring in any tool for building that particular artifact for you. Okay, so for me, I think it is this backpack file is ready. Now other thing is it should automate the deployment, considering I have the new artifact available now. So now this is getting the artifact what I have just deployed and building the release. Release is nothing but the instance, or I would say a time instance when that particular is created. Depending upon that, it will have the new release. Obviously something got changed, so I have to have the versioning of that. Okay, so based on that, this particular deployment is going on. So with that, I'm just showing you the logs as well. Exactly the same thing. It will do the 3 tasks. First thing is it will create the report for me, right? That means what is going to change with this particular DACPAC file. Other step it does is it creates a SQL script, and this I'm doing with the help of SQL package CLI, which I have shown you. Okay, so respective command lines and whatever you see here is done from those particular packages or the tools which I have shown you. Okay, so once those are, I have not installed anything on the DevOps server. This is being pulled at the runtime, or depending upon the machine I have chosen, that particular is already integrated. Considering I can use any of those respective tools. So when we come next time for hands-on deployment, you will see you are able to use any of the command lines which you are well versed with, MySQL, pSQL, then Postgre, and any other MariaDB, whatever tools you have used so far. Most of things you will have this available for you for deployment. Only thing is, if there is any command line, you have to have a command line task workflow implemented so that we know what you are trying to doing with that particular command line. Okay, so that is the only thing, you have to set the context right with the help of workflow. That is the only requirement from the DevOps per se. And most importantly, your service principal or automation account should have access to implement or do these kind of deployments. So ideally the contributor permissions are sufficient for you to just deploy. However, if you are giving permission at runtime, then obviously it should be the owner. Contributor cannot give the permission at runtime. So remember, even if you try to do that, that will show unknown in that particular sequence. So just waiting for this particular report. If you see, this is the command line which is it is actually trying to create report from. Action shows what kind of the task it is doing for us, and this is the exe SQL package which I've shown in the tools getting this report and other task for us. Okay, so this is complete now, and it is now going for the deployment scripts. Also, once these reports and everything are ready, you can also do download all logs. With that, a zip file is created where you can get an XML file which is report. You can get .sql file which is kind of a script, what it does, and finally obviously the deployment, you will see a TechPack file which you again can extract that and see what things are there within that. So this is creating a .sql script. Again in action, you can see now this is a script. In previous command, this was action was for creating report. Now in finally you will see actually publish. That means deploying them on your server. So ideally speaking, if I have to do these things manually, it will take at least a couple of hours, even if I'm the expert on that. However, from the DevOps, I think we can get them within half an hour time. So that is how we are saving the resources and the time by implementing this DevOps methodology on top of the databases. Okay, see the action is now published. Also, whatever secrets we stored, I think it already downloaded those secrets on behalf of us. Okay, so it fetched those SQL admin login and password so that it can do the deployments and run those script, whatever things we are trying to create from the SQL package. Okay, report, script, as well as deployment. So there is no touch as such from me on these particular databases. So it can be anything, as I said, Azure SQL database, server, managed instance. Similarly, it can be any MySQL, MariaDB, or the PostgreDB. Any of the SQL database you can work in a similar fashion. Only thing, as I said, for workflow, you have to have the clarity in what the sequence will be. So that is most important. The planning is most important, and then accordingly you put the credentials in place as well as the workflow in place. So now it is showing us what kind of the table and insert it will do. Now this is something to do with some kind of schema changes. So if you see dim fact and then table creation, this is what is getting appended on the database, which was just a blank database which I've created in my previous task. Okay, similarly, whatever the procedures and everything, this is appending on top of the databases. Okay, so ideally this is what I think in demo for today. So what we did, we had a repo where we have a database related artifacts as a code. We created a pipelines. First pipeline for deploy was for service creation. Then the other pipeline was for actually creation of that backpack file from the project. Third thing was the help of this I'm going to deploy this as a release, which will do the deployment on the SQL server or databases from getting these artifacts from the previous pipelines. So that's all for the demo for today.